that I actually just finished a master course on and a seminar on, which was negotiation. And I always like to take whatever I learn and all my master classes or seminars or from my mentors or coaches, and I like to spread the awareness to you. Now, negotiation is not only something that you're going to be able to use on your sales calls, but it's going to be something that you could actually use in your life. And I think that's super important because negotiation is going to follow you everywhere. So we're going to go through the strategies and tactics of negotiation, some of the things you're going to think about how you could use them in your personal life and your business life, and some of the things you're going to think about how you could use these things in sales, or how these things might be being used on you in sales. And in that case, we're going to have to talk about counteracting those things. So we're going to be going over mastering the art of negotiation, essential skills, and effective techniques. All right, so why is negotiation important? Well, let's start off with business life. It can be used for your contracts. It can be used for your partnerships. It can be used for conflicts, salary negotiations, schedule negotiations, buying a property, buying a business, partnering with somebody, working for somebody, hiring somebody. These are all examples of times we would use negotiations in our life. Then number 2, personal life, used in household decisions, buying cars, buying houses, managing personal relationships with friends, family, loved ones. Overall benefit, it's going to help improve the outcomes and relationships in both your personal and professional space. In business, here's a good example. Imagine a startup seeking an investment. The founder uses negotiation to not only secure funding, but also to establish terms that preserve her control over business decisions. This demonstrates how negotiation can impact both immediate needs with funding and long-term strategy with control. The key point are negotiations are crucial in business for securing deals, for support, sustainable growth, favorable terms, profit margins, and control. Personal life, family member, let's say they're deciding on a vacation. Where do you want to go? Who chooses? What kind of house? By the beach, not by the beach? By a city, by the mountains? How do you pick a place? The key point there is effective negotiation can be used in personal scenarios to help balance and differ interests and strengthen relationships by seeking compromise that all parties are involved. So let's start off by saying everything in life is negotiable. Whether you see something that says final price, that's negotiable. If you see something that says not negotiable, it's negotiable. Every single thing out there is always negotiable if you talk to the right person and you say the right things. So the best way to deal with negotiation to always make sure you're getting the best of the best is to always ask your way to success. The worst case scenario, if you ask your way to success, is nothing, because before you ask, you had nothing. But if you do ask and you don't get it, you still have nothing. So don't be scared to ask, because nothing changes before or after. The worst thing you could do is have a fear of rejection when it comes to negotiation. I'm scared to ask for a raise. I'm scared to ask for a schedule. I'm scared to ask my client for a referral. Because having that fear and being scared to ask for more or ask for better means you're always going to have the same. You're never going to give yourself an opportunity to grow. And when you get those no's and the things that come after you ask, that's where a lot of the growth happens. But a lot of times in our lives, we never get to the asking part, or quite frankly, in general, we never get to the uncomfortable things in life, so we never really grow or learn or change because we're not doing anything different. We're staying inside of our comfort zone. So ask in a happy way, ask in a mad way, ask in a sad way, ask in an excited way, ask in a curious way. Just ask in however way. We use this example all the time, but kids know how to ask, and they continue to ask until they get what they want. I have a bad habit of buying my son everything he wants at a store. He picks 4 or 5 toys. I'm trying to kill that habit. So I'm at Target with him the other day. I want to buy one thing, and I told him he's not buying anything if he comes with me. And I go in there, and of course he asked me for something. Can I buy some toys? No, you can't. Could I buy just one toy? No, you can't. Could I at least go look at the toys? Okay, go look at the toys. He goes, looks at the toys. He has 5 in his hand. Can I get 5 toys? No, you can't. Could I get 3? No, you can't. Could you get 1? No, you can't. People are starting to look at me in the store, and now it's getting uncomfortable and embarrassing because I look like the mean parent that doesn't want to buy my kid anything. But in reality, my kid has everything. I buy him too many things. So we go into line, he grabs a chocolate bar. Could I buy this? No, I told you you're not going to buy anything. Then somebody in the line comes up to me and says, here's $2 for a chocolate bar. Now imagine how I feel now. Somebody's giving me a couple of dollars to get my kid a chocolate bar. So that was completely embarrassing. So as soon as that person walked away, I put the $2 in my pocket. And I walked out with my son and didn't get him anything. And I made $2 extra at the store. But kids are a great example of how to ask because they have no awareness of being embarrassed to ask or what happens after you ask or what the consequences are, how they look. They don't care about anything but trying to get their way and seeking the pleasure that's inside of their mind. So you have to get good at asking when it comes to negotiation. Now, the Chinese proverb of negotiation actually means when two parties leave an arrangement and both parties are smiling. And I think that's super important and super impactful because there's so many times we get deals as salespeople where the client's not happy, but they're just doing it with us because they're already too far in or too deep into documents or whatever it is that we're trying to sell them or persuade them on, or they're in process already, or they don't want to do everything all over again, or numbers change or something changes. The relationship gets spoiled, but the deal still gets closed. And that's not a proper negotiation. That's not a proper sale because that's a negative seed and you're never going to get that business again. But when somebody is smiling and you're smiling and it's an actual win-win situation, that's where the residual income comes in. And what I mean by residual income is you're going to get more sales in the future from that same person. They might connect referrals to you in the future because of your experience. So ask yourself, out of the last 10 sales you had, or the last 10 deals you made, or the last 10 negotiations you had, was everybody happy at the end? Were both parties smiling? And is it going to result in better relationships? Is it going to result in more business? And could it result in more referrals? And every single time you seek out a deal, that's what you should be looking for. All parties happy, and are they smiling, and is everybody on the same page? Because if they're not, you have to fix that. Now that comes with a lot of things. It comes with setting the right expectations. It comes with not over-promising. It comes with under-promising and over-delivering all the time. It comes with clear communication. It comes with going above and beyond your clients. It comes with actually caring about the human that's on the other end of the sale. And if you have all those components, and we talk about those things all the time and things that you could do in all the different trainings we do, then you're always going to leave with the client happy. I probably have had 1 or 2 scenarios in the last 10 years where I had an unhappy client, and those are probably truly out of my control. But because I want to take responsibility, I'll say they're fully in my control. And if I could think hard enough, I probably could have did something differently. So if you do still have those situations where somebody's not happy with you and you do business for them, it's important to learn from those situations. Where did I drop the ball? Because the first step is taking responsibility, because when you take responsibility, you get better instead of saying it wasn't my fault, this happened, blaming outside circumstances, where again, you never reach the growth because you're staying in your comfort zone and not taking that responsibility. So one of the things I always preach is look in the mirror for everything that happens in your life and say, this is my fault. Even if it's not your fault, it's your fault. And if you could get used to that, you're always going to seek out improvements in your life all the time. All right, before we get into the tactics and strategies, time and emotion are probably the 2 most important things when it comes to negotiation. They either create power or they take power away. Let's get to the time aspect, okay? And we're gonna do both ends of this, whether you're the one trying to negotiate a deal for yourself or you're the one selling the deal and somebody's trying to negotiate it with you. Let's start off if you're the one trying to negotiate a deal for yourself. Let's start off with a purchase. If you're trying to purchase a property, purchase a business, purchase an object, and the other party that you're trying to purchase from or do business with knows that there's a time constraint, they have power over you because of the time constraint. Let's say they know the deadline is Friday and it's Tuesday and it's Wednesday and they know you eventually have to move and you're out of options and they're your only option. Well, they hold a certain power over you. So if you're the person trying to negotiate, it's very important that you don't let somebody take advantage or find out your weakness through time. You always have to make sure that time is not a big deal. Regardless of the situation, and even if it is a big deal, you got to pretend like it's not. Now, when it comes to the other end of things, the best example I could give salespeople is like the last day of the month or the last day of closing or the last day of the year or the last day of the quarter. When somebody's trying to hit a quota and then that desperation kind of comes out of their breath and the client starts sensing the desperation. You text them 16 times in one day. You call them 8 times in a row because they don't answer you once. When the other person senses that you're trying to do business with, that you're selling something to a product or service, if you're blowing them up and you're desperate for some reason because you're trying to get that deal, because you have a time constraint on you, or you have somebody putting pressure on you, and you're showing that to your potential client, you just gave them power because now they know you're desperate for their business. So like when I leave voicemails and I leave emails and I leave texts, I never say like, hey, I've been calling you for days. I need to get this deal. We need to get your documents. We need to get this. I never come from a point of desperation. It's always a point of value and why they need this. Market shifted a ton of times. My schedule's packing up. I know this meant a lot to you and your family because we're accomplishing A, B, and C for you. Please give me a call before 5 p.m. today and let me know if you're still interested or if I should withdraw the file. I never want to withdraw without speaking to you first. That's why I'm sending you this message. I know it's super important to you. Like that's a message I'm sending out saying like, hey, I'm not desperate. Here's what we're doing for you. I know it makes sense. My schedule's full. Things are getting tight. Do you want to do this or not? And that could sense some urgency for somebody. So you got to leverage time. Even if it's something where you need it for time, do not ever say that you need it for time. Don't ever mention your quota. Don't ever get that desperation and blow somebody up because you're under that constraint. You want to use time to your leverage. You could also use time like they say the 24-hour rule. And clients might be doing this to you. No matter how perfect a deal sounds, if you tell somebody you need 24 hours to mull it over or think it over or talk to somebody tomorrow that you're not going to get to talk to today, whatever excuse you make up, the deal most of the time could be better in 24 hours. So that's a lot of power. So when clients tell you they need 24 hours to think it over and we try to push them, really what the client's trying to do is trying to squeeze you and see if they could get a better deal. So they could be using time that way with you. If somebody's trying to hire you or promote you in your company and you tell them I need 24 hours to think about it and you're negotiating back and forth with what you want, there's a high chance they might hit you up with another benefit or add in something else special for you because now they're getting nervous and they're thinking about it. So time and negotiation could create a lot of power. If you're trying to negotiate a deal, make sure you're using time to your leverage. And if somebody's trying to use time against you, make sure you understand why it's coming and what you could do to stop it, which we're also going to talk about. The next thing and the most important thing, the thing that I talk about the most, if there's one thing that you should remember me by, it's definitely this. It's emotion. I'm always talking about emotions. And the thing that creates the most power when it comes to sales and negotiation is your emotions. If you have an emotional attachment to something and somebody knows, there's a lot of leverage in that. That's where pain and pleasure come from. They come from emotion, and pain and pleasure are the two most important things to human. Running from pain or running towards pleasure. So using this in your sales, I know for those of you that have been in my academy for a long time or followed me for a long time, know 100% every single sale should be custom tailor-made based off of emotion. Why? Because emotion holds the power. I was using this example today. Somebody told me, look, man, I get all these clients that want to do business with me and we start the process, but then they stop showing up. They don't close. They stop answering me. They go somewhere else. Why do you think this problem is? And I told that individual, you're having this problem, and I didn't even have to ask him. I could look at his face and I already knew why he's having this problem, is because the way you're selling things, and he's selling mortgages, is you're selling numbers. You're selling $300 savings. You're selling a skip payment and an escrow refund check. You're selling an interest rate. You're selling in 6 months, 12 months, we'll check up on you and see if we could help you again. If you're selling a purchase, you're selling a down payment. You're selling an interest rate. You're selling a rate reduction in the future. There's no emotion in what you're selling. So although they want to do business with you up front, they could get 20 more calls and all 20 calls will sound the same. So if something's slightly better, you've already lost it. But if they get somebody that's trained by me or that sells like me, and then there's actual emotions involved inside of that sale, they're definitely not going to come back to you. Especially if the numbers are close to the same and somebody has emotions in there, they're not going to come back to you. So what I told them was, if you're selling the dream and you're selling the emotion and you're selling what the savings are important for and what they do with a skip payment, if you're connecting every single perk of your product or service to an actual emotion for the client, then you know you have a deal. And you could use this in everything. I told you guys last year I was renting out my pool. I don't think I'm going to do it anymore. The whole neighborhood hates me. Brought a lot of big parties here. I made good money off it, but we did have some problems and the neighborhood's not happy. So we're probably not doing it again. But when somebody negotiates with me and they call me and they say like they're in a rush, they have 7 days and they have a party coming up, bachelorette party, bachelor party, they need a nice pool, they have a lot of people, or they even tell me that they had an event that canceled on them. I have the power power. I'm sorry to say it. I do have the power. And those are the events that I charge the most for, because I know that person has a time constraint. They're hitting me up last second. I have to make changes in my schedule. I got to make it happen for them. That's a top dollar event. Why? Because I know it's needed for them. So I could use that to my leverage if somebody has time. If I tell you I'm trying to get to my 3,500th member in the Acez Academy and I'm at $34.99, I was trying to hit this goal by this date, you have leverage over me. Maybe you don't want to be that member. Maybe you want to get a discount, because now you know I'm chasing something if I were to tell you that. So like when there's emotions involved in it, there's a lot of power there. For you selling something, if you have the emotions through your text and your email and your presentation, you could create the power to make somebody move, because you know what emotional sweet spot is making them move in this situation. And then if you're negotiating with somebody else and you're trying to buy something on the other end, or you're trying to get a raise, or you're trying to become a leader, or you're trying to take a vacation, or you need the time off, you have to find out what the other person's emotional sweet spot is and what it's tied to and how you could leverage that to make a decision. What if that person has something on Saturday and instead you tell them, I'm going to look out for you on this Saturday because I know you have this wedding and I know it's important to you, and you look out for your leader on something like that and you scratch their back because they have an emotional thing going on that you know about. You could use that as power too, and you're trying to make moves. So how often are you using emotions not only in your sales with your clients, but how often are you using emotions when you're trying to buy something? Even when you're trying to buy something at the store, all this stuff comes into play. You're trying to buy a watch, you're trying to buy clothes, you're trying to buy shoes, you're trying to buy something off a marketplace, Facebook. All this stuff plays a role. So I want to ask you, how often are you using time and emotion to create power or take away power in all the scenarios in your life? So what are these scenarios? Well, we know you could negotiate a job offer. We know you can negotiate a project. You can negotiate business deals. You can negotiate your rate of pay. You can negotiate your position somewhere. That's in business. In personal, you can negotiate holidays. You can negotiate car purchases, home renovations. Man, with contractors that come to my house, like, I learned this very fast. I do my research. I study. One simple hack I could give you if you want to get everything cheaper when it comes to doing work for your house or your car, call 3 people and shop it around every single time and call back those people. And if you don't have time to call 3 people, make up 3 people that you called and leverage that in a negotiation, and you'll 100% get a better deal every single time. The worst thing you could do is take the deal right away with no negotiation or trying. And then for conflict resolution, I think anytime you have a disagreement with somebody, whether that's a client or a coworker or a boss or a leader or an employee or a team member, it's important to resolve conflicts through negotiation. And all that stuff comes into play. Time, emotion, power, 24 hours. You could use all of these things in multiple scenarios in your life. Let's give some examples. Let's say you're offered a job. And when you're offered a job, negotiation comes into play for the salary and the benefits, work hours, and remote opportunities. For example, you could negotiate that you want to work 2 days from home to accommodate to your family commitments. But to negotiate that, what are you going to do for them? And how much do you know about them? And what could you give them back in return? So negotiations are not only for compensation, but also even work-life balance and career trajectory. Personal situations, buying a house. You can negotiate the purchase price, closing costs, move-in dates. Buyers might negotiate with sellers to include furniture in the sale or to perform certain repairs before closing. So the key point is effective negotiation can significantly alter the terms of personal transactions, leading to substantial savings and improved terms. So what are the essential skills when it comes to effective negotiation? Like active listening. We talk about that all the time. That's one of the most important traits in negotiation is active listening. Because if you don't actively listen, well, you can't focus on the other person and understanding their position fully, or how you could even use emotion or time, because you're not going to catch those things unless you're actively listening to your client or actively listening to a seller or a boss or a leader or whatever situation you're placing this in. Creative problem solving. That's a great one. Developing unique solutions that meet the needs for all parties. We had a contractor today. He gets paid by projects and he doesn't currently have a project that he wants to take. Okay, so we can't qualify him for the deal because he doesn't have a current project he's working on to prove that he's going to keep getting income. But we knew about this client that he did have a deadline coming. He had a graduation party coming for his son. He had a daughter moving out for college. He had a couple of things that we knew that were, under time constraints. And he had a couple of deals that he didn't like and didn't want to take and he wasn't interested in. Because we actively listened, we knew he had deals. We figured out the details of the projects he had that he didn't want to take. We learned about his family. At the end of it, we talked him into not doing the deal, We talked him into doing a 3-month project, a 90-day project that he didn't want to do because the graduation and the daughter moving out of college, all these things were important. So we kind of forced him to take a project he didn't want to take to get a pay stub so we could close the deal for him. And all this came from not only active listening, but creative problem solving as well. How do you leverage those things in your business? I leverage them all the time. I'm leveraging them with the academy every single time. People work with me on consulting. A lot of people tell me that, sometimes it's too expensive and I try to prove it with the closings, but eventually I create the portal for them. So every single academy that a company logs into has the videos I do for them, because that's a creative way to solve their problem that you don't have to train your people again. You don't have to pay me again. I'm recording everything and you're just going to rerun them through it, and I'll put in tests for you and you can hold them accountable, and there's metrics and reporting. That's a creative way I negotiate and solve problems for people. Like, this stuff plays into everything, whether you're talking to clients or you're trying to negotiate a deal, or you're doing it in business or you're doing it in life. How creative are you getting to not only solve your problems, but solve people's problems? Deep problems that you have to go 3 layers deep to understand, which leads me to my next thing: emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence. If somebody has a family member that's sick, don't say, hey, your family member's about to die, you got to do this. Like, have emotional intelligence when negotiating. Don't use the wrong kind of power or the wrong kind of emotion to steer somebody off a ledge. Don't use bad tactics to push somebody, right? Work with your heart and have emotional intelligence in situations. Don't push somebody to get a divorce because you want to close a deal. So recognize and appropriately respond to your own emotions and those of others. Emotional intelligence is so important for yourself, because we talked about, if the buyer knows that you're emotionally attached to something, they automatically have power over you and they're going to use that power. So even emotional intelligence can mean for you not getting pissed off if you don't get a deal right away, or if you don't get the price you want, or if you don't get the promotion you want. If you show that you're pissed off right away and that you can make crazy decisions or do crazy actions, people see that as a weakness. So there's 2 ways you could use this. One, when you want to push people, make sure that you have emotional intelligence and you don't push them off a cliff or get them too upset. And 2, don't let people see your emotions. I always tell salespeople, like, when you let your emotions get involved, if you're not using those emotions to win the deal, those emotions are only hurting you. And to be honest, when I see somebody like that wears their heart on their sleeve, that gets upset very quickly, that's a person that I deem has a weakness. And I think that person could never be a leader at a high level because they have that weakness. Until you fix that problem, you can't reach large levels of leadership. And before we had webinars, we used to have weekly calls where people could join in and talk, and cameras are on and people are off mute, and it was a complete mess. And I had a lot of times people would get upset, they'd say some crazy things, and I would keep my composure all the time. Even in companies, one time I had someone that threw a book at me because I was playing their call clips and giving them feedback in front of a large group, and I was being a little aggressive, and I could have lost my whole career there and lost my reputation, and I could have got into a jungle war in the middle of a shop. But all these emotional intelligence things matter. Next, there has to be flexibility. What do I mean by flexibility? Well, let's start off in, your sale. Today somebody told me that the client's not answering them because they don't have enough money to pay the deposit and make their payment. So they're going to choose to make their payment, and they're going to see if they could eventually get some extra money to get a deposit. Okay, so there's a lot of things in play here. Well, there's a time constraint. There's a money constraint, which is emotional, that you don't even know how to pay your bill. And there's this broker that's literally just waiting and sitting on it. And there's also emotion from the broker side saying, like, somebody else could take this deal from you. Somebody else could do a better job. You're just going to let it sit here. So you got to be flexible. So I told him, look, let's look at the valuation together. How does it look? Let's look at the income together. How does it look? Check. Looks like a clean and closable loan, right? Let's call the person together. Let's get their commitment on a verbal line here, recorded line. Let's tell them, do I got your verbal commitment on a recorded line? If I cover your deposit out of my pocket, you're going to do business with me. You're not going to back out. You're going to send me all these documents. You're not going to take any other calls because I need this money to feed my family. My family's important to me. I don't usually do this, and I'll do it for you. And the person said, of course, why are we waiting on waiving a deposit when we could use that in negotiation and be flexible? At work, be flexible. It's not like, oh no, if I'm not getting paid $500 an hour, then I'm not going to do this. There's sometimes I make deals with people where I take a cut out of increase in revenue, right? There's sometimes I make a deal where there's payment plans. You have to be flexible, whether that's with your client on taking half a deposit or making payment plans or setting up multiple calls or helping them find a co-signer or working on a Sunday to talk to them. Being flexible is very important in negotiation. How flexible are you in all means of your business? Patience. Whoever has the most patience has the most power. And that's why sometimes I'll originate clients after 14 days, 21 days, after 90 days, they'll call me, because sometimes I play the patience game to show them like, yo, I'm not desperate for your deal, but I'll keep reminding you on how you should have done this deal because it made sense for you. But I'm still not pushing you to do it today, but I'm like, hopefully everything's going well for you. I know we talked last week, we had a phenomenal option. Here's what's going on in the world. Here's what's changing my industry. If you ever think about pulling the trigger, you know where to call me. Still not sure why you haven't pulled it yet, but I don't want to push you at all. You have all the time in the world. Give me a call when you do make a decision. And because I talk to them like that, they're like, damn, he doesn't really need me, but he knows I need this, and he doesn't really care if I do it. Like, it kind of like, it has some swag to it, Instead of saying like, hey, when could you get on the phone? Hey, we need to lock this in. Hey, I need to get you on the phone. That's desperation. And I always tell you, you can't sound desperate. Ask yourself before you ever leave a voicemail, ever send a message, ever send an email, do I sound desperate in this? And then also there's patience on the other side. If I know you need to buy this watch because you have a wedding this Friday, it's going to be hard for me to go down on the price of this watch. But if you tell me I'm just looking, it might be for next year, the year after, I don't really came in here to buy something. Now it's on me to try to sell you and try to influence and persuade you on why you should buy this today. So like, even having patience in that, when you tell people like you want to buy something but you're not in a rush to buy it, clients do it to us all the time. Yeah, sounds good, kind of just looking, so clients do that tactic with us. And a lot of times they're using that same exact negotiation tactic with us. And we take the bait sometimes and say, well, call me when you're ready. When in reality, they just don't want to be pushed, or they want to see how far you will push. Confidence, I think that's super important. I'm so confident in my ability to do things that I could negotiate all day long as the terms make sense for me. I know that I'm in power in negotiation because I'm confident. So you got to believe in your ability to negotiate favorable terms. You got to be able to tell me that you could call somewhere and you could get a better deal than me on the Tesla. And probably the Tesla is the hardest thing to negotiate ever, because Tesla doesn't advertise and they don't bend on prices. But I'm pretty sure if I put enough tweets out there and send emails to the right person, I could get some kind of negotiation or something for free from Tesla if I really tried, because I'm confident in my abilities. I can negotiate milk. I negotiate change at a gas station. If I don't want to break a dollar for change at 17 cents, I'll be like, I'll give them $17 instead of $17.13 and be like, I'll just freeze and look at them. And they'll be like, all right, go. Like, that's negotiation. I think it follows you everywhere you go. Analytical thinking is super important when it comes to negotiation. Breaking down complex information to understand the negotiation stakes, right? How often do you analyze data, savings, purchase price, interest rate, buy downs? All this thing comes into play with negotiation. If you're looking for a raise, breaking down your own data, showing somebody what you've done for that team or company. If you're looking for a leadership position, showing that. If you're a leader, breaking down your team's data. I mean, you think talking to a team member or somebody that's working with you to try to make them improve their results, you think showing them data and breaking down conversion and metrics and showing them exactly where they need to increase, and if they increase, what they could do in those specific categories is important? It's 100% important. Today I was at a shop where we're actually breaking down how many credit reports turn into dockouts for every single team, how many dockouts turn into submissions for every single team, how many submissions turn into closings for every single team. And as we color coordinate all this data, we look at it, we instantly find holes in the boat of where the business is lacking. And then we go deeper and we put the microscope on that team to see exactly what's going on, and you find bigger holes inside the process. So analytical thinking and breaking down data is super important, not only in sales, but in leadership and in life. Then persuasion, influence and persuade. That's the name of the game. Convincing others to see and agree with your point of view. This is probably the biggest tactic you need to have, the biggest strategy you need to have, because if you can't persuade somebody on why they should do something right now, then you're not persuaded yourself. You're not sold yourself on why they should do something right now. So I think confidence and persuasion and belief all tie in together. If I believe in my product and I believe in my service and I believe in what I sell or do, or my ability to negotiate what I want to buy, if I believe in all of that, and then I'm confident in myself, then I'm always going to persuade somebody the right way, because I could fight for that because I believe in it. All right, let's get into the strategies. Now, most of these strategies you're going to think of and you're going to laugh because you've probably seen it before, and I have seen it before too. And you probably heard it before maybe. But strategy number one for negotiation is the flinch. And let me start off by how you could use this when buying something or when applying somewhere. If you're applying somewhere, and you say, for example, how much commission do I make per sale? And they tell you you make 0.55%. You could give them the flinch. You'd be like, 0.55? And like the second you say that, that person is now nervous saying, shit, what was this person expecting? So you could use the flinch when you do that. If you're going to buy a car or buy some jewelry, how much is this watch? 10,900. 10,900? And then you just literally be silent and you wait for the other person to speak. And that's going to let you know if there's any room for improvement on that deal. So you could use this when you're trying to purchase something or apply for something or get a promotion. Now clients could also use that on you. When you tell them the interest rate or the cost, they could use the flinch tactic on you, and then they get silent and they wait for what you have to say. So what do you do in those situations? Well, in those situations, I try to 8-mile it and squash the objections before they arise. I always talk about that. So anytime I'm pitching an interest rate, your interest rate's actually going to be a 7.5%. And I know that sounds super high. The reason why I chose that for you is because I don't want you to buy down a rate if you're only going to be in the house for the next 2 years. I'd rather give you cheap costs and a good loan right now and get you the cash, which is the most important thing. But if you want lower rates, I could show you them too. And then, by the way, your new payment is going to be, but you see what I just did there? Instead of even having an opportunity for somebody to flinch on me, I blocked that flinch out because I didn't gap or pause, and I pivoted straight to why that's not important and squashing the objection. I think purpose and giving signals that the current offer is unacceptable sometimes will make somebody change the offer. So if I tell somebody like, yeah, you're going to get paid, 0.85% per deal you close. And I'm like, yeah, it's definitely not going to work out then. And I move like this, I guarantee you they're going to say like, what do you mean it's not going to work out? What were you expecting? And then like, there's going to be some sort of negotiation there, or them trying to sell me harder, or maybe throw in some add-ons, which we're going to get into as well. So you could throw signals like clients do to us all the time. I'm 100% not refinancing. I'm 100% losing that rate. I'm 100% not going to be looking for a house anytime soon. They're throwing signals at us to let us know that our offer is going to be unacceptable if we try to do this. And then it's on us to try to find the time restraint or the emotions to try to break this flinch. Buzzwords to express shock or disappointment. Holy smokes, are you serious? You can't be serious. You got to be kidding me. Like, these are some things you could say to throw the flinch at somebody, or if people tell you this, they're throwing the flinch at you, and that's strategy number 1. Strategy number 2, mastering the art of asking questions. We said it earlier in this presentation. We said ask, ask, ask. Ask happy, ask sad. Don't be afraid to ask, because nothing's happening before you ask, and if they say no, well, you have nothing after you ask, so the nothing doesn't change. So stop being scared of the nothing and just ask. So that goes back to asking key questions. As soon as somebody gives me a deal, I automatically say, is that the best you could do? What if I were to decide today? What if I did full cash? And like, these are key questions that you could ask to negotiate and get a better deal with somebody. If somebody tells you your new leadership role or your new promotion, this is how much you're making, is that the best you could do? What if I made the move for you today? What if I took on more people on my team? What if I was willing to do A, B, and C for you? And like, you can negotiate back and forth by using these questions. So asking that key question right away when trying to negotiate a better deal is key. Now for a client, if they're trying to do that to you and they tell you, is that the best you could do? Well, again, the same exact way you squash it is by telling them, and look, your final price, if I'm selling, say I'm selling this Willy Wonka, limited edition, right? And somebody tells me, how much is this? And I tell them it's $1,099. And this is the best I could do. And let me tell you the reason why. And then I give them that. I'm squashing their objection before they could ask me that. So at the same time, with this negotiation stuff, I'm showing you how to block these negotiation tactics at the same time. So this is a double-edged sword. And I promise you, if you're on this call, you're going to reach a situation in the next 30, 60, 90 days where you're going to use something off this call and it's going to work for you. How do I know? Because I'm a master of negotiation. I've negotiated a lot of special terms. I've gotten deals closed that nobody else in the world could have closed. I've helped clients that nobody else could have closed. I've gotten rates and pays that nobody else could have negotiated. And a lot of that is from some of these tactics and things I'm talking about. So the purpose of this is to extract better offers or get more information that could lead to a beneficial agreement. Strategy number 3, the power of assertion. So the technique here is being assertive that you could find a better price, being assertive that you could work somewhere else and make more money, being assertive that they can't go anywhere else and find a better deal than you, being assertive that you're the best one in the industry for that person. That all ties in again to belief, confidence, the same exact things we talked about. If you believe in yourself and you're confident in your product, you're going to be assertive. It goes right with it. So you could do something like state you found a better deal somewhere else. right? And somebody could use that on you, and they use it on us all the time. Yeah, I got offered a 5.5. 5.5 doesn't even exist, you know? Do you want to tell them that right away? Do you want to, wait a little more? I would wait to find out the emotion and the time and educate them later. But if you're trying to negotiate a deal for yourself, if you're trying to negotiate pay for yourself, if they tell you you're going to be getting paid this much, that much? I've gotten like 5 other offers that were more than that. Are you sure that's the final of what you were going to offer me? Saying something like that will give somebody a shock. And if they really want you and you're valuable, they're not going to tell you get the out of my office. So stating you found a better deal somewhere else, that encourages a more competitive offer. The purpose here is it asserts your position and knowledge and potentially pressuring the other party to reconsider their stance. If a client says, I want to shop this around, you sure you want to shop this around? Because here's what I could tell you. I'm a professional shopper. That's what I do for you. And the last 5 people that shop me, 4 of them have had horrible experiences. Let me explain to you just 2 of those experiences and what's going on in the industry and why right here is the best place for you. If you talk to somebody like this, there's a sense of, ooh, what did he just say? They feel that swag and that confidence from you. So are you being assertive when negotiating your product or service and trying to sell it, or when trying to get something in your life? And strategy number 4, the art of lowballing. I hate when somebody lowballs me too. This is a horrible one. But the approach is to start off with an offer well below what you're willing to pay. Anytime you're willing to pay for something or you're willing to do a deal for somebody, always say this is the lowest I'm willing to go and this is the highest and exactly where I want to be. And then in the middle is where the negotiation falls, but you should always have that limit. Another great example of this is like somebody today had a $900,000 deal today and the application's been out for about 7 days, and I asked them, what's going on with this application? They said, yeah, found a better deal with his lender. And what deal were you giving them? This deal. I said, it looks like it's full comp. Did you try reducing the comp or going bare minimum or even making $1,000 off of it with this interest rate? No, but damn, it is $900,000. You're right. I'm like, yeah, why aren't we thinking about that? We should always know at bare minimum, I'm willing to make this to get the deal done. And at bare minimum, I'll cut my pockets and do this if I have to. But everything in between is a negotiation and value. So you start off, if you're trying to sell somebody, always know in your mind, this is where I'm willing to go to earn the business. I don't plan on going there. I don't want to go there, but if I have to, I'm going to go there. And that depends on how good of a negotiator the other person is. And it's a negotiation battle in a war. Now, if you're trying to pay for something or apply for a raise or a position or buy a house or buy a watch or buy an object with somebody, then you start off with a low offer. If you know somebody's selling something for $8,000, I hear it all the time. When I used to sell stuff on Craigslist, people used to call me and say like, look, I'm not bringing more than $4,000. So if you're really trying to get $7,000 for it, let's not waste each other's time. They used that on me a bunch of times when I used to sell stuff online. I used to be like, damn, well, is that really the best you could do? And then like 3 days later, I'm texting them $4,500 and like I'm going down $2,500 for them because they lowballed me at $4,000. I didn't get any other offers. Now the pressure's on me. So you starting off with a lowball offer could also help you reduce that price. The purpose of this is it resets the negotiation benchmark and it could lead to more favorable terms. The technique is after the main terms are agreed upon, ask for small extras to enhance the deal. And this is strategy number 5. This is called the art of the nibble, meaning you're not really negotiating the price, but you're negotiating the add-on. You know, I've had somebody told me that they bought a house before and they got the car on the driveway included with the house. Think about that as negotiation. There's no way I'll do it. There's no way I'll do it. I'm not going to pay any more than this. I'm not going to pay any more than this. You know what? The only way I'll pay what you want right here is if that car in the driveway stays. And they knew that person didn't need the car. It was an extra car laying around and that wasn't as valuable as the person as the money was. And like that was a negotiation tactic. So after the main terms are agreed, how do you ask for small extras? Like, is this included? Oh, and like the deposit is definitely going to be waived, right? If somebody tells you that, it's like, yeah, the deposit, there's no deposit with this, right? I'm guessing there's no deposit with this, right? They're hitting you with that negotiation tactic right up front. And you could also do it too. If somebody hits you up with like, hey, I need you to do this, this, and this for me. Yeah, and I'm definitely going to be getting a bonus for it, right? Or the bonus is included. And I could get Friday off after I do all this, right? Like you could always ask for add-ons, and whatever you give, there's a give and take balance. And every single time you're giving or doing for somebody, it's okay to try to get back some if you're trying this tactic. Or you could try to add things in. Does this come with it? And I'm guessing that's included as well, right? And the fact that you say that makes them think about that. And they've never thought about that before. And now maybe you can negotiate that. Maybe they'll say, that's not included, but you know what? I will throw in this for you. And I do that all the time when I'm negotiating with people. people. They'll negotiate price with me and I don't want to negotiate price, but instead I'll use this tactic and say, you know what, instead of price, instead of staying for 1 hour, I'll stay for 1.5 hours here and give you an extra half an hour once a week. Instead of negotiating price, why don't I help you out with a free kickoff meeting every single month that I'll create for you and give you an agenda. So like I could throw in add-ons as well because I don't want to change my price. So a lot of times the art of the nibble is how you include add-ons into the product or service, or how you assume add-ons if you're trying to buy a product or service. Can you include free delivery? If not, I might have to reconsider. Think about that. If I call a restaurant and I place a big order, all I have to tell them is delivery is definitely free, right? And that's after they give me the total price. When they're adding it up, I'll be like, delivery is definitely free, right? 90% of the time, they're going to say, all right, delivery is free. Or let me talk to my manager. Let me talk to my owner. You could get free deliveries left and right by just adding this tactic. Or how about if you say after making an order for a birthday party or for your broker shop, you make a big order for lunch, and then you say, look, after you make the whole order, you make them write it down. They've invested time, 5 minutes. You say, look, delivery is definitely free, or I might have to reconsider. They're going to most likely throw in the delivery. So it's all these small things and so many different ways and examples you could use this in. And if you have any other, throw it in the Q&A for me and I'll try to address it. So again, applying these negotiation skills in personal life, home and family we talked about. When you're doing consumer purchases we talked about. Service agreements, you could apply question tactics, improve terms and contracts for landscape fitness memberships. Use the flinch and nibble tactics to secure additional features or discounts when you're making purchases. In your personal relationships, planning events, flexibility, creative problem solving, preferences and budgets when organizing gathering or events, resolving conflicts in your personal life, emotional intelligence, patience, ensuring conflicts are resolved without damaging relationships, home and family, rent and home purchases, use active listening, assertiveness to negotiate better prices or favorable lease terms, family decisions, employ emotional intelligence, persuasion to manage disagreements about any family decisions being made. In business, contracts and deals, promotions, pay raises, pay terms, employ analytical thinking and persuasion to tailor proposals that meet your client's needs, team's needs, employer's needs, employees' needs while maximizing your benefits. Human resources, flexibility, creative problem solving that helps navigate interpersonal conflicts within teams or within business partners. Strategic decisions, crisis management, confidence and patience are crucial in negotiation that involve high stakes or require swift and decisive actions. And then counteracting all of these tactics is important too. So I gave you guys a bunch of ways to counteract them. Number one, preparation. Be ready for somebody to negotiate with you. Now that you know these, a great question to ask yourself as a salesperson that, hey, if somebody tries to nibble on me, what am I going to say? What am I going to do? What kind of leverage am I going to try to have before they do this? If somebody tries to lowball me for this thing I'm selling, what am I going to do? What am I going to say? What kind of leverage could I gain prior to this happening? Just the fact that you're starting to think like this and remove the booby traps off of the track and field, you'll be ready for those booby traps because you're completely removing them before they even arise. Again, that's squashing objections before they come. So a great way to counteract negotiation is prepare for every single form of negotiation. I would rewatch this and write these down and just keep it in front of you in a list and ask yourself, how are you leveraging some of these tactics in your life and in your sales? So awareness, identify when these techniques are being used against you, and strategies, remain calm, be patient, don't give them leverage, control your emotions, control your time constraints, and make sure you know when to walk away or when to pretend that you will walk away when you really don't want to walk away. And that's it for the art of persuasion and negotiation and tactics and strategies. So many great things in here that you could use mostly in your personal life, but also in your business life as well, with clients, with employers, with team members, with contractors, with landscape, with jewelers, with family members. Hey, thanks so much for watching the video. I hope you're enjoying it. If you'd like to see a bunch more content exclusively for you, sales, leadership, mindset, business, growth, click right down here below and hit subscribe for me. Every single week, you're going to get exclusive content delivered to you first. We also have a link in the bio with all of our products and coaching. We'd love to help you 10x your business and 10x your sales. And thank you for being a part of the community. We appreciate you.